one question.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you one crazy question.
Okay.
And this will probably end up on our Patreon. I feel that our questions will not be able to be aired because I want an honest answer. And this is not a great question. I'm going to tell you up front. It's just the one that's been on my mind.
And I think that's the bigger question. It's like, why are we so anti-aging?
That's one of my topics. I don't know if you noticed, was aging.
I did. Yeah. And I have a lot of thoughts around it, but it's like, I watched a TED Talk this last week, and the guy says, people are, or the woman, it was a woman. She's like, people are so afraid of aging. And she's like, and I'm just as guilty, but it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? With anti-aging creams and cleansers and procedures, multi-billion.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we see the worst of the worst. So people are like so afraid of getting old and ending up in a nursing home, but only 4% of people end up in nursing homes.
Interesting.
4% of people end up with Alzheimer's or dementia.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are we so afraid of?
I feel you and I should be able to answer that question. Me more than you, because I'm older. And yet I don't know that I know what I'm afraid of personally, but we'll save that for when we do the topic of aging. I totally know what I'm afraid of. And but looking old, oddly enough, although I did just color my hair today, and here's a fine example of where I will kowtow is my hair, but I've never done any plastic surgery, and the chances of me doing it are pretty slim, not because I'm better than it. It's just something I can't afford, right? If I'm going to pay for something, I'd much rather buy a motorhome than plastic surgery. So, and I've got boobs, so I don't need those. They do sag a little, but I got bras. So, yeah. I mean, I feel like, again, if I'm going to tick off the list of things I'm grateful for, I'm grateful that I do not look, when I am 60, I probably will not look 60.
No, absolutely not.
Unless something happens in the next 3 years, right? I mean,
no,
highly unlikely. So, anyways, yeah, I think we should ask one outrageous question per episode so that we can put that in our
Patreon
if we need to, because we have to be semi-outrageous or we're not gonna, not that anybody follows our Patreon, because nobody does, just so you know. But then again, my mantra, I have multiple mantras in life, and one of them is do it anyway, right?
Do it anyway. Yeah.
Because if we never did it, then yeah, it's never going to happen. So at least the vehicle is there, and if someone goes, oh yeah, I want to be in on that, it'll be there.
Okay, so do I get to ask you a question then?
Sure.
What's your favorite sex position?
Wow. I only get to pick one. All right. I will tell you, a lot of times it would depend on who you're having sex with, right? I mean,
this has to be a whole topic, Sherry. This can't be like, this cannot be one. No.
I totally, fair enough. And we can save this as well and include it. But so along these lines, and I know I need to let you go because I know you got to go early, but one of the things that I was going to ask you was the other several weeks ago, we had a conversation and you had told the guy you're seeing, it was about goals, right? And you said, I don't want to talk about it. Do you remember this? You and I had this conversation. Do you remember the conversation you had with him where he asked you,
it was my dreams.
Yes, your dreams. That was it.
Right? Yeah.
Right. And you're like, I don't want to talk about it. And I get that, because I had noticed recently, I have said that term more than I've ever said it in my life.
What term?
I don't want to talk about it.
Mm.
And it isn't that it's so traumatic or it's awful or any of those things. I just, now I kind of look at it as, do I really want to spend my energy rehashing this information?
Right. Like sometimes you just in that moment, it may not be that the topic is off limits forever, but it's a lot for certain people, depending on the topic. It's a lot deeper than what the person asking realizes. Like, and yeah.
So have you used that term recently? I used it today, as a matter
But
of
I
fact.
don't want to talk about something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think so. Nothing comes to mind. Although this was kind of funny, but not totally in the same realm. I had my review for work on Friday, and what I do not know where this came from, but in my review, I said something like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the second half of my life. And my boss, like, he's so sweet and bless his heart, literally, he was just like, this is a really deep statement.
Yeah, it
And
is.
he was like, maybe we can go for a beer sometime.
Did you mean it to be deep? I mean, like,
No, and that's the funny part is I don't think I did. I think it was just like a legitimate, they want us to be authentic and be real. And it's like, yeah, I'm living like the last half of my life right now. I'm middle aged, there's no question. And is doing ad sales for an technology, an ad tech world, like what I want to continue to do. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that great at it. I've never been that great at it. I'm okay. Like, and I mean that in the sense of just, I do try to always do the right thing. I always, I try to understand the technology. I try to understand what's going on in the ecosystem. But I'm not like a pit bull. Like a lot of people I know who are really successful are just like, they're like hardcore, and I'm just not.
mhm,
And I don't think I ever will be.
right. And I mean, to me, that's fabulous. And I think a lot of that is because, I figured out what I do want to do with the second half of my life, right? So I'm a huge proponent of making it happen
Yeah, for sure.
because I get it, right? And I wholeheartedly support the people that are pit bulls at it and are successful
100%. I
because
love those
that's what makes them
people.
happy and that's who they are.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's, you know what? And God loves them. Like
Yeah.
they found their purpose. They're good at it. They are paid well. They do whatever. And it's like, I do think in a lot of ways I've just been lucky. Like it's been timing, right time, right place.
Well, and you're not horrible at it.
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just definitely,
You're a conscientious employee. I think, and this is kind of how I feel about myself, right? Is I was at newspaper sales, and I wasn't killing the down and dirty business, but the high and lofty business I was really good at, right? So like we have this package that was available for $5,000 to one person, or we could sell it to multiple people for $500. And I just went, fuck that, 5,000, right? And I don't have all these little tiny advertisers, right, where I was getting $250 a week, but I went out and got that $5,000 piece of business because I got it, because I was like, hey, this would be great for you, and here's why, and here's what you'll get, and here's why we'll do it. And it was an advertiser that nobody had called on before, and I just had this idea and I made it happen.
yeah.
Right. I still got fired from that job.
Oh my gosh.
But so maybe you're not the bulldog in that sense, but I bet you are good at the big picture, and that's important to have.
Maybe.
But
On
that
that
doesn't
note,
mean
I
you
do
want
have
to
to
do it
run.
for the second half of your life, right? You still may want to do something else. Maybe.
We'll see what that is. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.